In the chamber this week, a revolutionary who had a quite literally metal death. We discuss the ending of a game and offer our takes, and we flesh out a villain who loves corpses. Plus, discover the new clues to find the secret treasure of Phantom Roulette, wacky voices and wacky characters, and any other weirdness we might think of. All of this and more on Phantom Roulette. Hey everyone, welcome to Phantom Roulette. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And here on Phantom Roulette, we talk about all kinds of nerdy things, including history, video games, RPGs, and other stuff. So Cody, what nerdy stuff have you been up to this week?
Well, nerdy stuff that I've been up to. I've been doing a lot of D&D prep. Okay. I had 2 Rowdy Rough Boys campaigns back to back, and you were in one of them.
I was in one of them. I made a new character.
Yeah. It was super fun. And then
it was.
What else? I've been slowly trudging through Kingdom Hearts 2. Okay. I got to the second one. I forgot how long this game is, and with the fact that I'm going to be ending the Kingdom Hearts 1 talk at the end of this episode, I'm like, oh. Yeah, so what nerdy stuff have you been up to, my dude?
Well, I played that game that you were talking about, the Rowdy Rough Boys. I was a lizard.
Yeah.
I was a lizard man.
That was good.
And then I've been watching a lot of a television program that if you have Hulu, you can watch as well, called Forged in Fire.
Ooh, that sounds cool. What's that about?
Yeah, it's a reality TV show competition where History Channel brings in 4 bladesmiths and they make a knife, and then the final 2 get to go back to their home forge and make like a historic weapon to kill things.
What? To kill things?
I mean, it's like they have like ballistic test dummies and like different like animals and things like that.
Neat.
But like they test the efficacy of these historic blades, and you learn a little bit about the historic blades as well. So
that sounds right up your alley. It also sounds pretty dope. So I'm probably gonna watch it.
It's pretty cool. It's a. Sometimes I find like the first part to get like a teensy bit repetitive, but like
sure,
they always find out weird ways to make it kind of interesting. So it's like this week you have to use like bike chains to forge a knife, and it's like, well, that's not how knives are supposed to work.
Dude, is that not how you make knives? I've been trying to make them with bike chains for years.
Yeah, well, see, here's the problem, Cody. It's good. What you work with there is a low carbon steel. A higher carbon. Yeah, okay, so anyway. But yeah, so shall we dive into the history section? Oh, it's kind of a quick intro.
That is a quick intro, but you know what? Wow. I've got my DeLorean ready. I'm revving it. Vroom, vroom. I'm ready to...
Just like the DeLorean sounded like.
I don't think I'm going to put a sound effect there, because I think this is my DeLorean, which isn't actually a car, but it's just like cardboard box.
Oh, yeah, well, we've all had.
Yeah.
So anyway... so Cody, what's everyone's favorite part about the history section? Why, yes, it's Joe trying to pronounce historic names.
You know, it is my favorite part because, right or wrong, I have no idea.
and I got to me the heck of a one this time.
Yeah, hit me.
So it's a shot in the dark.
Okay.
Yorgi Doza.
Yorgi.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
G-Y-O with an umlaut.
Oh.
R-G-Y. So Yorgi. And then Doza, which is D-O with an accent mark, Z-S-A.
Wow, that is a name. I love it.
Yeah. So he was a skelly man-at-arms from Transylvania.
Wait.
And yeah,
what's a skelly man?
It's a subgroup of the Hungarian people who lived in a part of Romania. Because this is like during that time of history where like our countries that we have today aren't quite the countries that they had back then.
Okay.
Like if you ever look at like a historic map of Europe, like at one time there were like maybe 10 countries.
Right.
And then over the years, like, they proliferated, and then they became big countries again, and then they became small countries, and now we have a lot of small countries, usually based off of ethnic background and things like that. But at this time, so he was living in Transylvania, which was technically part of the Kingdom of Hungary, and he led a peasants' revolt against the kingdom's landed nobility. So he has kind of this dual thing going on. He's like known as a Christian martyr, but also a dangerous criminal. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. So,
yeah.
Doza was born in Dalnak, and was a soldier of fortune who had a reputation for valor. And so, basically, in 1514, the Hungarian chancellor, a man named Tamas Bak, Bako with a and then CZ. He returned from the Holy See, so Rome, with a papal bull issued by Pope Leo X, who was like, "Guys, we got to start another crusade against the Ottomans." And everyone was like, "Yeah, woohoo, crusades!" And so this guy, Bakaz, appointed Dosa to organize this movement. And so within a few weeks, he had gathered an army of about 40,000 people who, in this country, were called Hajdu, which were kind of like the lowest of the low. So they consisted of peasants, students, friars, and parish priests, some of the lowest ranking groups in medieval society. So they assembled, and they got some military training, but they were starting to get kind of pissed, right? Because, like, they weren't given food or clothing. They weren't actually getting any, like, military leadership or things like that. And then when it got to harvest time, the landlords were like, "Hey, maybe instead of you should go and maybe not instead of going on a crusade, you should come and plow our fields for us." And then they're like, "No, we gotta go on a crusade, my man." They started, like, torturing their families and stuff.
Whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, right. They were pretty mad.
Man.
And so, you know what? Dusko's like, "Fuck this." And so these crusaders just started, like, attacking landlords. They started a war of vengeance against these people. So the rebellion became most dangerous when the towns joined the side, when the towns of Segled joined up with these peasants, and while cavalry was sent against them, they were able to really start, like, growing in big numbers. So yeah, finally, like, the papal bull was revoked, and they were like, "Nope, no more crusade." And then King Vladislaus II issued a proclamation commanding the peasantry to return to their homes under pain of death. But they were like, "Nope, we're not doing that." So it became a full-fledged revolution.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, right. They were pretty mad. So Doza had captured the city and fortress of Senad and signaled his victory by impaling the bishop and the castellan, who was, like, the leader of the castle.
Yikes.
Yeah, right. So according to some information, the rebels only executed particularly vicious or greedy noblemen, and those who weren't quite as bad were able to, like, go out on parole. And he never broke his word, but frequently assisted the escape of fugitives. So yeah, basically, like, after a while, things were starting to get pretty bad. He was starting to have trouble within his own ranks. And eventually, Dosa was routed at Temesvar, where he was captured and was now subsequently tortured. And this is where things get really messed up, Cody. So are you ready?
I mean, things have been getting pretty crazy, but does it...
Well, it's going to get worse.
Oh, man. Boy. I'm buckled in.
They condemned him to sit on a smoldering, heated iron throne.
Oh!
forced him to wear a heated iron crown
No.
and scepter, which was mocking his ambition to be king.
Ugh.
Then, they brought up his younger brother and killed him. And then, are you ready? Because this is where it gets the most messed up.
Wait, there's more?
Yeah.
Oh,
so the executioners removed some pliers from a fire and like tore into his skin.
Oh.
And then he took 9 fellow rebels who had been starved and like demanded them to like bite off a piece of him and eat his flesh.
Oh.
Yeah, right. It's super messed up.
Man, that's brutal.
Yeah, right. It's a very metal death, quite literally.
Oh man, you were not kidding.
Yeah.
Oof.
So the revolt was repressed, and 70,000 peasants were tortured.
Yikes.
And then basically, the brutal suppression of the peasants greatly aided the 1526 Ottoman invasion, where the Hungarians at this point were no longer politically united. So, like, I guess he succeeded in a weird roundabout way.
It's a very painful roundabout.
Yeah, and in 1848, serfdom was abolished. But, so, the legacy of this guy is, like I said, some people consider him a Christian martyr. Some people consider him a crazy, what's the word I look for? A criminal. But there were a number of people who claimed that while he was sitting on the hot throne, some monks saw the image of the Virgin Mary in his ear. And so...
Wait, like she hopped out and was like, oh, hello.
Yeah. Kind of.
Oh, no.
So, like, now where he was martyred, there's a statue of the Virgin Mary. And in 1865, there was, or rather later, a Hungarian composer named Ferenc Erkel wrote an opera about him. And now there are some things that are in Hungary that bear his name, including 2 postage stamps, and he used to be on the $20 banknote of Hungary. So there you go.
Neat. I mean, pretty brutal, but neat.
Dosa, a guy who got one of the most like brutal metal executions I've ever read about in history, and I was like, whoa, pretty metal. Time for podcasting. Because, you know, that's what the people come for. They come for the dark, gritty history.
Oh, gritty history.
Yeah, get that grit on there.
So I have a question.
Yeah, you got... Fire away, my man.
So, like, about when does this take place from, like, Castlevania 1?
Oh, okay. So... the Belmonts at this point were like pretty discredited.
Oh shit! Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
No, it went from 1490. He died in 1514. So I don't know if there's actually like a date in Castlevania.
I don't think there is. If there is, I'm not familiar with it.
But anyway, yeah. I mean. It was pretty metal, and it was Transylvania. So you know what they do over there in Transylvania.
I do not.
I mean, it's like where the vampire stories come from.
Like Twilight.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just like Twilight.
I heard Twilight started or actually takes place in Transylvania. Fun fact.
No, it doesn't though. I watched the riff tracks of it. I know it doesn't take place.
You actually watched some of it?
I watched the whole first one, my man.
Oh, man, that's a bummer.
You know, like Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they did one for the Twilight movie, and it was funny.
Okay, I would see that.
Yeah. Like there's great parts where there's like really long, uncomfortable, awkward silences, and then like the one guy would be like, line. So yeah, that was like the big joke from that one.
Nice.
So yeah. So I can say that with full, I've seen one whole Twilight film. It was not very good.
I have seen, I guess you would say, the three of them, but done by a man who's literally there to pick apart the movie and all of its credibility. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a YouTube series that I watch. But
Sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry for finishing up your history by talking about Twilight. Doza. And I'm sorry if I butchered your name.
Oof.
Which, probably did a lot.
We just ruined everything, didn't we?
Nah, whatever.
Famous last words.
Yeah. It's chill. So yeah.
Yeah.
History. That was history, and was in the past, and now video games. Hey Joe.
Oh man, I've been looking forward to Terry all week. It's a real bummer that you keep him locked up in your house and not mine.
This is actually his younger brother, Barry.
Barry?
Yeah.
From Resident Evil, Barry?
Sure, let's go with that.
You don't sound like Barry.
The irony is, this is probably the closest it's ever sounded to original Terry.
I mean, Terry's voice has changed so much that
That's true.
You could literally do anything, and I probably would be like, yeah, I think that checks.
Well, it's because Terry's in witness protection. Wait, what?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, well, there was that whole E.T. thing.
Oh, God. No, that got out? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I deleted that whole part of the episode. Oh, no.
I poisoned the water supply with bad video games.
Oh, well, to be fair, he did poison the well, so to speak.
Yeah, and the that's why Nintendo had to call themselves the Nintendo Entertainment System and not a Nintendo Video Game System.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
I mean, I've read that places, so.
Did you read that from... Oh, I'm not going to make that joke.
For what?
No.
Well, here's the thing, Cody. My dad worked at Nintendo.
Oh,
back
got
in the
it.
day. Yeah, he worked.
See, my dad also worked at Nintendo, and he told me that if you level up in Pokemon and skip the SSN, you can go back, use Cut and Surf, and get behind the boat where you can catch Mew.
It's funny that you should mention that, because my dad told me that you could get a Master Ball if you walk out and in of town 15 times, and then you call Professor Oak a cock muncher.
Whoa! I didn't even know that was an option. What button is that?
It's 69. So
the good old 69 button on the Game Boy.
On the Game Boy, yep.
It's hard to find because you have to just throw it at the ground as hard as you can, and that's where it shows up. It's weird.
So it's a high risk, high reward maneuver.
Right, but you can get a Master Ball that way. So if you just keep buying Game Boys, you can get a bunch of Master Balls.
And can I tell you the saddest part about it, Cody?
I'm ready for a good cry. Let's go.
I got the Master Ball, and then I immediately used it to catch a Pidgey. So.
Oh God, no!
Yeah,
why?
It was a really powerful. Well, here's the thing, though.
Do you want to know a true story about this very thing?
What, people lying about their dads working for Nintendo? Yeah,
no, the Master Ball bit.
Oh God! Oh no!
So, I was trying to catch Snorlax.
Sure.
And I didn't know how to alter because I think you can move the items around in your inventory.
Yeah.
And so the Master Ball it just so happened that it was right next to my Ultra Balls.
Oh no.
So while I'm in the middle of catching this, I use the Master Ball to catch one of the Snorlax, and yeah. But that's also the same game that I beat Gary, his last Pokemon in the Elite Four, by using a move that has a 5% hit rate.
Who's Gary?
I guess it was your rival.
Don't you mean butt? Don't you mean butthead?
Oh no.
Don't you mean...
I forgot my son's name. What's his name? Ah, yes, it's Butt Muncher. Wrecked.
So anyway, yeah. How do we start this bit? Oh yeah, Barry. yeah, guys, I'm still here. But Tara sent me with a special message. Oh yeah, what's up with what's that, Barry? He said the treasure is in your heart. Whoa.
Oh, that's sweet, but I also don't have any kind of utensils to get it out of my heart.
Well, you have to try harder.
Like surgery. Oh, man, do I gotta play, oh man, now I'm slipping. I can't remember.
Is it the one
Trauma Center, Under the Knife.
Yeah, where you have to save people from alien bacteria or whatever.
You know, there's going to be a moment where I talk about this game in more detail, but it is weird how they go from pretty simple, do a surgery, open up some person and, replace an organ, to there are zombie viruses from another existence and you have to shoot them with your Satan powers.
Sure, yeah,
yeah. It just gets really radical really fast, and it's this is a game about being a doctor, or about being a surgeon, and it got weird so fast.
Yo. Oh God,
who is that?
It's me, Yorgi Doza.
What?
I thought you were dead. Yes, it's very hard to kill Hungarian, man.
Is
especially Transylvanian.
Especially with an accent that doesn't match the area.
Blah.
Oh no!
Yes, I am vampire.
Oh man, well I mean.
I'm asking why do you not go on crazy tangents when you are talking about me? You are a Gidoza. It's cause the video game section is more fun for tangent. I am going to oh god no crash.
I'm gonna oh no ew it sounds like a cat drinking milk out of a saucer.
That was some gross Foley work right there. cut all that out, Cody. Cut it
nope.
out.
No, it's all staying.
Nope, cut it out. Start over. Hi, welcome to the Fan Roulette. Yorgi Doza.
Alright. I think we should get on to this bit. I think everyone's been waiting on the cliff for too long.
Oh, yeah.
It's been one whole week.
Yeah. Last time, you walked away, and then you didn't hear me say, Cody, please tell me the end of the plot of Kingdom Hearts, please.
Okay. Oh man.
Every time, man. I'm sorry.
All right. If you're jumping around between episodes, you should probably listen to the last one, because I started my story retelling of Kingdom Hearts 1, and I'm about to go and spoil the end of the game. So I guess if you don't want to...
What? Bitched about the Little Mermaid a lot.
Yeah, I wasn't really happy with the Little Mermaid. So
he was like, I can't stand that ginger.
Whoa.
He said it.
There's no.
You have to go and listen so you can find out which
Ooh.
one. There are two guards, and one of us always tells the truth, and one of us always lies.
I used to know the answer to this, but now...
Yeah, well, the answer is that Cody called Ariel a dumb ginger.
Whoa! No, I did not! Stop saying that to the audience!
They have to go and find out. Maybe one of us is lying.
No, stop!
Well, one of us is clearly telling the truth, and one of us is clearly lying, Cody.
Oh my god, Cody, I am the one who tells the truths here.
Cody, this is how you build a brand.
Oh, right. So I'm the liar in this, yeah?
Maybe, well, who knows?
And you decided this on your own.
People will have to go, no. What I'm saying is if we get people to go back and listen to old episodes, then our numbers go up.
You're right.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about this outside of the podcast, and I'll finish telling people about Kingdom Hearts 2.
No. We should talk about it right here inside the podcast right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
people
job.
Love
Good
this
job.
Behind the scenes stuff. Can we cut this all out?
Anyways, if you haven't listened to the last one or you don't want spoilers, you're gonna want to skip ahead, and I'll.
And he never ended up answering that question.
Put a note in here somewhere.
Yeah, skip ahead, fool.
Yeah. So we talked about
when last we were at our heroes. They were at the edge of something.
They are at Hollow Bastion.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, I mean, you heard the last part or you remembered the last part, because there is a world after this called the End of the World, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So, in Hollow Bastion, Sora, Donald, Goofy, our lovable trio, find themselves in this weird, goofy, like almost steampunky castle that doesn't really fit the
castle.
Kinda, yeah. It's weird. Like, I'll show you a picture, and maybe we'll put a picture up on Twitter. But it is a steampunky, like totally doesn't fit the usual vibe castle. And while you're going up, guess who you run into? You run into Sasuke. I mean Riku. And he's there to be an antagonist.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So he walked away, but he didn't hear you say. Okay, anyway, going on. I have to get like 5 per episode, Cody.
Okay, yeah. While we do this whole Kingdom Hearts thing, there's a 5 simple and clean reference quota that we have to meet. Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's like compared. Okay, anyway, going on.
So
you meet Sasuke, and you're like...
Yeah, you meet Riku, and he is here to tell you that you're not strong enough for the Keyblade, and Sora doubts himself for a brief moment, and the Keyblade disappears and appears in Riku's hand.
What is this Mjolnir bullshit?
Right? And so... Donald and Goofy, and this is like the moment where I question the loyalty of Donald and Goofy for the rest of the series.
Okay.
Because they just get up and fucking leave you. They're like, yeah, we have to follow the Keyblade. Like, sorry, Sora, we've been playing for like 10 hours, but fuck you.
Yeah, well, hey, man, no, because, like, that shit's happening. Okay, carry on.
So, you spend... and then for a last big fuck you from Riku, he throws you like a toy sword that you had at the beginning of the game, and he's like, you'd be better suited for this, and you're just like, oh, you motherfucker.
What a dick.
So you try to get through a good chunk of, or not a good chunk, but just a chunk of Hollow Bastion with your wooden sword that doesn't do any damage. Good. And guess who shows up?
I'm going to guess that it's everyone's favorite Disney character. Baloo from the Jungle Book.
And you would be very wrong. The Beast shows up.
Ding, 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 ding. Whoa, God, confetti is falling out of the sky in my house. I don't even know how I did this.
Ooh. So you go around with Beast, who is a little, like, mechanically and in the game, a beast. He is too good.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. And then finally you go to Riku.
Why is he the Beast? Why is he not the boring, handsome guy at the end of the movie?
Oh, the prince? Well... so one of the thoughts that I'm going to have is I think Kingdom Hearts takes place weirdly before all of the Disney movies. Maybe. But I don't know if Kingdom Hearts is canonical to the movies. I think.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, I don't.
It's like everyone's favorite part of the... No, man, because everyone's part of the favorite... Everyone's... Shit. Everyone's favorite part of every Disney movie is when an anime boy, Donald, and Goofy show up mid-scene, and they're like, guys, we gotta find the Keyblade. It's like, we're serious about wanting to be under the sea, you motherfucker.
No, but I gotta defeat Ursula with the Keyblade.
Yeah, and then Prince Eric's like, but I gotta stab her with a boat. Yeah, that movie gets dark, friends.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the Little Mermaid, like, the whole non-Disney version of the Little Mermaid is pretty fucked up, but...
Oh my God.
Anyways, I digress.
Yes, digressions aside.
You go, and you finally catch up to Riku, Donald, and Goofy.
Uh-huh.
And that's when Sora's like, no, my strength is in my friends, and I think my friends trust me. And then that's when he gets the Keyblade back.
Whoa.
Through the power of friendship. Because that's what you're supposed to do.
And then, dude, Donald and Goofy are like, oh, man, it's been a hell of a day, but we gotta go back with this guy now.
Yeah. No, eventually, like, Donald and Goofy just feel bad because Riku's being, like, a total ass. Uh-huh. And, like, they go to Sora's side before he gets the Keyblade.
Oh, so they just must have really fucking hated Sora.
Yeah, you know...
Oh, wait, never mind. Okay, I pieced together what you said. They went back to it before he got the Keyblade.
Yeah, so before he got the Keyblade, they, like, came back because they, like, felt bad because Riku was, like, not only, like, taunting him, but, like, beating him up.
Guys, we should go, attack some innocent children, and Donald and Goofy are like, oh, man, we don't play that game.
We don't play that game. We only defeat, shadow monsters from the dark dimension.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, Cody.
Yeah.
Give me your best Donald impression.
Man. I don't even know what to say.
Say, I'll help you, Sora.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't. God damn it.
See, it's funny because no one can do a Donald impression without sounding like a demonic hell beast.
I'll help you, Sora.
I'll help you, Sora.
I'm trying to do that with my voice, but I can't. Like, I can go, I can do that, but
see, we have to fucking form Voltron, I guess. Anyways, carrying on. So they come back to you, and then you're like, "Hey, Sasuke, my friends gave me my strength."
Right, and so you fight Riku, and Riku's like, I've been fell, or I gotta go now.
Okay.
And then,
so he just pieces out.
So then you go through Hollow Bastion, and it's kind of like a normal level, weird clockwork craziness with new enemies and Keyblade, woohoo. And then finally you get to the end where the princesses of hearts are basically captured.
Okay.
And then Maleficent shows up to stop you.
Oh, I totally forgot she was a player in this.
Right, yeah, because she's the one who manipulated Riku into being a darkness person. Or heartless, or not heartless, but use the darkness and it gets evil. And you fight her, and then Riku shows up, but Riku's all weird because he's got that double voice thing that the Turians have in Mass Effect, where all of a sudden it's Riku's voice, but also there's this deep man also talking in unison with him. Wow, and cool. He unlocks Maleficent's heart with his weird shadow blade. And then Maleficent turns into the dragon from the movie. You fight the dragon.
Okay.
Which was honestly, when I was younger, it was a really hard fight. I don't know what it was, but then playing through it a second time, it was so much easier. But anyways.
That's good.
Yeah, so then you get to presumably the door to this world, which is this giant heartless shape. There's an icon that the Heartless all have, and it's a weird heart with cracks in it and things like that, and it's super edgy and whatever.
Don't got one of those.
Right.
It's actually their official tagline. It's Heartless. We don't got one of those.
So you get to there, and then that's when you find out that Riku is being, I would say possessed, but I don't know if that's even the right term. Basically, he's being controlled by, lo and behold, Ansem, the man who we thought presumably was dead and studying the Heartless. I know, right? And then Sora has to fight him because Riku wants to stab Sora in the chest
Don't do that.
because that will unlock his heart, which will save Kairi.
Oh, okay. Gosh. Now I'm invested.
Right. But this is going to be important in like a couple seconds because you do the fight and it's a pretty difficult fight.
It seems pretty important right now, even.
Right. And then, of course, Sora defeats Riku and he's like, oh, I've been defeated, and disappears. As you do.
Uh-huh.
Then Sora's like, he finds Kairi, and she's like kind of like a lifeless zombie, not doing anything. And he's like, oh, if I unlock my heart, I'll save Kairi, right? So he picks up Riku's blade that he just got done beating the shit out of him with.
Sure.
And then stabs himself in the chest, sacrificing himself to save Kairi. Right? And at this point, Sora vanishes. He's just gone. And as a child, I would barely even call myself a teen. A child. I was stricken with sadness.
Oh, gosh.
I probably was teary-eyed, and I was a mess.
Yeah.
And so he sacrifices himself, and then all of a sudden, Kairi wakes up as his heart's being like floating away from his chest, and he disappears. So at this point, you start to play a little like one of the little Shadow Heartless, like the things that you meet at the beginning of the game, and you just kind of run around,
Sure. Yeah.
And presumably you're trying to go after Kairi, Sora, and Donald. And that's when you finally do get to them, Kairi's like, wait, no, this one's different. It's not attacking us. And she hugs the Heartless, and then Sora comes back. This takes a lot longer than this explanation, but I'm, trying to move this along.
Wait. Time out.
Right?
Could you have presumably saved all these creatures if you just hugged them?
See, that is... we could have like an entire an episode of discussion about the parameters and like the mechanics behind how all this works.
Maybe next week.
Because in theory, yes? I don't know.
But also possibly no.
Right. But also, it is worth
really
noting that
committal
Kairi is also a Princess of Hearts.
Okay. For my favorite Disney movie.
Right. So maybe it's because she has this gift of being a Princess of Hearts that she can do that? Who knows?
Okay.
Either way, Sora comes back. His presumably death is short-lived.
Okay, good.
Which is probably really weird for a 13, 14-year-old to experience. But anyways, so then Sora, Donald, and Goofy go back to the keyhole where I believe either they fight Ansem again, and it's a little fuzzy because it's been a while since even a while now since I played that part.
It's been a while.
And at this point, you find out, there's this Riku, and he's like in this this new shadow attire, and he's got the weird voice, and he's gonna stop you. And that's when Riku shows up, like a ghostly apparition of him. And he's like, "No, guys, I'm holding back. Run!" And that's when everyone books.
Uh-huh.
I might have these not in order, but basically, at some point, you realize that Riku, like the good, Riku is trapped in his own body, and he's being controlled by another dude for presumably a bit.
Uh-huh.
So then you leave. A lot of the endgame stuff opens up at this point, like a lot of like the new Colosseum matches, a lot of like those extra bosses, but all of a sudden there is a new world at the very end of the map, and Heartless are pouring out of it like it's like where they came from. And sure enough, you go there and it's the end of the world. And this is where the heart, or I guess it's really more of a graveyard of all the planets that the Heartless have consumed, but they live in this kind of graveyard, so to speak. It's weird.
Okay.
And a lot of this is just like mechanically difficult. There isn't a whole lot that goes on other than you're in this kind of weird, trippy, like, you know, I'm in space, but I'm not. And they do a little bit of Fantasia with, and I'm blanking on the demon's name from Fantasia with like that really infamous song.
And he never ended up answering that question.
Keep going, I'll think of it.
Yeah, so you fight that dude. You fight a ton of Heartless, and this is actually where I almost broke a controller, because there's like a whole like boss rush like area where you fight a boss and you got to fight a bunch of these dudes. And then you fight Ansem. And Ansem wants to beat you up so bad because he wants the Keyblade to open the door to Kingdom Hearts, or the darkness. What he presumes is darkness. So, you fight him 3 times, one with Donald and Goofy, and he's got this cool, like, heartless shadow bodyguard that has never been in the rest of the game, but he's so fucking cool. And then you fight him again by yourself, and then you fight him as a giant spaceship. He is a giant spaceship. You're not.
Oh.
Because, you know, it wouldn't be a Final Fantasy or like an anime if the main boss didn't turn into like some kind of like horrific flesh spaceship.
Sure, I'll take your word on for that.
Yeah. And then you defeat him. So, you know, difficult fights. You defeat him, and that's when he's like, he's on the ropes. And he's like, I think I can open up the door to Kingdom Hearts. It's the door to darkness that will save me. You know, I'll get more power. I'll defeat you, Sora. And then Sora's like, nah, fuck that. That's where the light comes from. And so Ansem opens the door. Light pours out of it. He is defeated. And that's where Sora, Donald, and Goofy finally see what's inside. And it's this weird kind of nebulous white blob, but there's a bunch of Heartless on top of it, like presumably consuming it.
Uh-huh.
And then Donald and Goofy are like, well, fuck, we gotta shut that door. Like, there's way too many Heartless. And so they're trying to push the door closed, and they can't. And that's when Riku shows up.
Oh, man.
From the other side of the door, and he's trying to help close it. And, you know, they finally are making progress. And that's when King Mickey shows up. And he's also behind the other side of the door. And he's got a Keyblade. And now you're thinking, what? There are 2 of these? Yeah, there are 2 Keyblades now.
Whoa, that's a lot of Keyblades.
Yeah, this is a lot of Keyblades. And it only goes up in count from there. Then, so with Mickey fighting off the Heartless, Riku helping from the other side, you start to close the door, and then Riku's last words to Sora are, go back with Kairi, go help her. She needs your help. And then the door shuts.
Okay.
And this is where game gets weird.
Well, wait, what?
Yeah, right? It hasn't been weird already with like a flesh spaceship. We had to get weirder. Uh-huh. So, cutscene plays, simple and clean, but not the like techno remix, but like the actual song starts to play.
Uh-huh.
And which is basically just like a acoustic guitar. It's a little slower. And Sora and Kairi are standing apart from each other, presumably on different, like she's standing on sand and he's standing on, like, this weird kind of, like, marble.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden they split, like, the worlds are starting to disappear again, like they were at the beginning of the game, before the Heartless ruined it all.
Sure.
And so Sora, it's like, oh, well, you would think he would go back with Kairi because that's what his friend literally just told him to do. But he doesn't. He just goes, Kairi, I'll always be in your heart. blah, 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 sentimental crap, but I gotta go find Riku. Bye.
Bye.
And that's the game. Credits roll. And then the post-credit scene, because Kingdom Hearts was doing post-credit scene before Marvel.
Well, technically, Pirates of the Caribbean was doing post-credit scenes before. Well, what year did this movie come out? Or what year did this game come out?
I think I said 2003.
Oh, 2001, baby.
Oh, no.
Anyway, post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene, Sora, Donald, and Goofy are walking along a dirt road, presumably on King Mickey's planet.
Okay.
That's what it looks like, at least. And they're like, how do we find Riku and the king? And they're like, I don't know. And that's when Pluto shows up with a letter in his mouth. And he's like, yo, dog, I got this letter. And then they chase the dog off. And that's the end of Kingdom Hearts.
Da, 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 da. Ba, 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 ba. That says, it will be concluded. Da, da, da. Do, 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 da, 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 da. Okay, so anyway. Man,
so
that was a roller coaster right at the end there.
Right, yeah. So like the most of the beginning of the game's kind of like whatever you're learning about the Heartless, but the end of the game it just goes through some turns. Like Sora presumably dies for a brief moment. He becomes a Heartless, which leads to some other questions that I'll talk about in the other discussions of the other games.
Yeah.
And things just they only get weirder. They just keep adding more, and oh boy, it is a doozy. I think Kingdom Hearts 1 is the most contained of the nonsense. Like, there's some weird parts that you kind of have to be like, all right, I guess that happened, but yeah, that's Kingdom Hearts 1, my dude.
That was a rip-rolling roller coaster.
Yeah, God, maybe someday.
I have questions, but I feel like they're better suited for later times.
Yeah, you know what? When we get to the next game, Chain of Memories, you write these down because we'll talk up, because like there is a lot of shit that needs to be processed before we can move on to Chain of Memories.
And you know what time it is?
Ooh, the not so middle section.
Oh, damn it, you took my joke. It's the slightly past middle section time. We're going long this week. It's after the middle. Probably closer to the end if I'm being serious. But we got to learn about our social media. It's the slightly after middle section song.
Bravo.
Thank you. I was actually kind of proud of that one.
Guys, this is the
slightly after middle section.
Slightly after middle section. Thank you so much for if you've gotten to this point. Bravo. You listened to the rantings of a madman talking about a game from his childhood.
Yeah.
So congratulations, you made it. If you want
to tweet at us, that's where Joe hangs out. And
yeah.
It's, @fandomr_podcast, where I'll tweet about when episodes are live or if episodes are late, or sometimes funny quotes from like D&D and things like that.
Yeah, we have some quote. We have a quote.
We have a quote. I know. I was trying to do a little bit better, but it's hard.
No, it was a good one. We were literally dying of laughter when you put it up. So
it was pretty funny, yeah. And if you want to like get a little bit more in depth, why don't you send us an email at
fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and that's where you can like suggest things, join the conversation. We might have some info coming to you soon.
Yes, next week will be a different episode than the normal stuff. So stay tuned.
And really, I think that going forward, like with feedback from you guys, it will make it even more special. So like, stay tuned to that, and we'll go from there. And then, of course, we are on iTunes and SoundCloud. We have our own website, which is
www.fandomroulette.com.
Yeah, and there you can find links. Please share it to people. Please get the word out there, because we do this in our free time as kind of like a fun little hobby. But hey, we put a lot of heart to it. So
Yeah, lots of love is put into
we,
this.
We'd love for you to show and share it to others.
Yeah.
And please rate, review, subscribe, etc. All those numbers move us up the ranks, and hopefully eventually will get us to maybe like a little bit higher ranking. So, yeah.
Your boy.
So that was the middle section.
Yeah.
All right. So, Cody, like, boy, we talked a lot about King. Ugh.
Oh no! Did it get to your house?
Oh no! Oh, it's all drippy.
Oh, ugh.
Hey, it's a garbage kid.
Oh.
Our most favoriteest bit.
The bit that's changed the most.
Yeah, pretty much, because it used to be like hot off the presses kind of thing, but then it was like.
Yeah,
anyway.
then you should have do like a Count Chocula thing for a bit.
That was like one time, Cody. And that brought, it's very offensive to me,
God,
Yorgi, for Count.
I feel like you're being offensive.
I mean, maybe. Oh.
Maybe, who knows? Why don't you tell us how you feel about that on our social media?
Yeah.
So tell me about this garbage kid.
If we have any Transylvanian listeners, like, hook us up. I kind of want to know what Transylvania is like.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you go to your local game store or your local Barnes and Noble or bookstore, and you go to that their RPG section, you're gonna find a book that is called Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Now I know what you're thinking, everything, and my response is yeah, pretty much, except that like they do drop other books every now and then, so like. It's a lot of things, and so if you go oh boy, I just kind of ruined never. It's amazing. It's one of the best books ever. I actually really like the book a lot. It's a lot of fun.
It's the most used book in my arsenal right now for Dungeons and Dragons.
Pulling myself up that hole I dug for myself right there.
At
about the halfway point, there are all kinds of really cool tables, and you can roll a completely random character like Hunter Dark Midnight.
Oh.
Hunter Dark Midnight is a half-orc wizard.
What? That's amazing!
Who is neutral, and they were a guild artisan.
Cool. I'm liking it.
Now, they knew who both of their parents were.
Solid.
And one parent was an orc, and the other was a half-orc. Now, I'm not quite sure how that works, because that would kind of make you three-quarter orc, but hey, no one asks about genetics in D&D, that's rude.
Hashtag rude.
They were born in the house of a family friend. They had 11 siblings, and they are the youngest. Now, this is confusing to me. Under family, it says their family was a temple? So, like...
I mean, maybe their community, or...
It's possible. Both their parents disappeared to an unknown fate.
What?
They lived a modest lifestyle. They had
cool.
no permanent residence, so they moved around a lot. And others saw them as being different or strange, so they had few companions, which is pretty sad.
Okay, well, if they moved around, maybe the temple that they lived in was like a traveling monastery or cleric.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And then also they became a guild artisan because they wanted to get away from their home situation and start a new life. And they became a wizard because they grew up listening to tales of great wizards and knew they wanted to follow that path. They strove to be accepted at an academy of magic and succeeded. Now, they are 21 to 30 years old and they have 3 life events. They went on an adventure and nearly died. They have nasty scars on their body and they are missing 1 ear, 1 finger, and 3 toes. They fought in a battle and acquitted themselves well in battle and are remembered as a hero. They might have received a medal for their bravery. And something truly strange happened to them. A dragon held them as a prisoner for 1 month until adventurers killed it.
Damn.
And then some aspects about their wizardry. Their spellbook is long straps of leather on which spells are written, wrapped around a staff, or so for better ease of transport. Their sort of motivation is arcane power must be taken away from those who would abuse it, and their fashion sense and grooming, or more accurately, lack thereof, sometimes cause others to assume that they are a beggar.
Damn.
So that is Hunter Dark Midnight.
Nice. Very cool.
So if you happen to use Hunter Dark Midnight or any of our other garbage kids in your own campaign as an NPC or as a PC, please let us know how that works out for you, because hey, this is kind of it's a fun thing, and we'd like to know that our kids are out there in the world making waves.
Yeah, and just so you know, Joe said last episode that he will literally repeat anything that happens to these characters on the podcast. So if it is fan fiction, go ahead. You're good. You can get Joe to say some of the weirdest shit that people will ever hear.
I will read
and it'll all be
verbatim.
Thanks to you, the viewers.
I'll read it verbatim. No edit. No editing. No promise I won't editorialize as I read it.
Ooh. Now you're backpedaling. You said you would read anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No. I'm going to stay true to that. I will not edit. I will not edit what is written. But when I say I will editorialize, means I will make comments as I read it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Shall we talk a little bit about scary guys?
Yeah. So we had this question a while ago. Yeah. I've been sitting in there, but I hadn't had a lot of time to think on it.
I feel that.
So one of our, our fan John asked me to make a necromancer, kind of similar to the prompt that we had about our one-shot adventures. Is kind of where it sparked it, and so I got into a little more depth on kind of world building the necromancer into something more, and just giving a little more into my thought process of making this an actual NPC that I could use.
Cool.
So, I basically start with a couple of tables from Xanathar's Guide to Everything and the Dungeon Master's Guide that kind of spark my creative juices, so to speak.
Sure.
On pages 61 to 73 of Xanathar's Guide, it's the same one that we use for the Garbage Kid. It's called This Is Your Life. It's also really great for building NPCs.
Sure.
So, my personal necromancer is a halfling wizard named Vanny Swift Whistle. Oof. And worked as a member of a local guild of wizards.
Okay.
She is presumably alive, but missing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that was just from rolling up, I think, 3 different charts, and it's kind of already given me ideas of where to go. Sure. I'll get there in a second. In the Dungeons Master's Guide, on pages 94 to 96, there's some cool tables for, villain things, their scheme, a villain scheme. What are they doing? And in this case, it was pretty easy. Immortality. Duh. What necromancer doesn't want to be alive forever, presumably? They also have methods, and there's a lot of different methods, but the one that I chose, I didn't roll on this list, was raising certain dead creatures may give them the answers they need to achieve immortality.
Okay.
Another cool thing that I found was that you could also have a weakness. And the villain is weakened in the presence of a holy artifact.
Okay.
So, some kind of tool or some kind of item that you can give to the party during some point in the campaign. Now, that being said, scheme, immortality. How do you do that? Raising certain dead creatures. And a weakness. In Xanathar's Guide, there's from 123 to 125, there's also a really good section on creating rivals, or just people with their own personal goals, assets, and plans to basically stop the party or get in the party's way. So the big 3 that I think about, and it's a really good tool, what are their goals? what are their assets, and what are their plans. So in my case, Vanny wants to find the correct person to achieve lichdom. I know the method was raising certain dead creatures may give them the answers they need, but Vanny's goal is to find a specific person.
Okay.
And in my head, I thought, oh, well, because she's convinced that one person actually has the answers to put themselves into a phylactery and become a lich.
Sure.
What are her assets? Well, my particular necromancer has access to many undead minions and knowledge of the region because she's familiar with the area, and also has allies and friends within that old wizard's guild that she used to work at.
Sure.
So those are my assets. So there's a lot you can play with there. Like that's kind of for the dungeon master, your bread and butter. That's very much like, all right, what do I throw at the players? Well, undead minions for sure. Necromancer's got to have a skeleton somewhere.
Yeah,
and being, knowledgeable of the area means it's very unlikely Vanny will find herself in a ill-placed situation. Yeah, and then sense. Having a couple other guild or other like wizard friends and allies would be helpful, or may even be a hindrance later when the party's trying to look for them. They might try to go through the wizard's guild.
Yeah.
So her plan, she has a list of people who have passed that might have this knowledge and is discreetly digging up the graves and using magic to bring them back and interrogate them.
All right.
So that's her plan. There's her goal. What does she have to use to do that? And then the whole plan in action. So that's my local wizard. I wrote down some potential minions or like potential enemies to throw out the party if this is, going to be a main bad guy of your campaign. So I thought of, undead. There are like a million different types of undead in the monsters manual that the necromancer could have access to. Constructs, traps, magic in general. She is a wizard. Yeah. If she's got money, hired thugs and bandits, maybe paying off some political figures nearby to kind of, make Vanny Swift Whistle disappear from the books, so to speak. And then another thing I like to think about is, kind of like their overall like personality or like some key points about it that are going to be useful for me. So in this case, I made, because she is a halfling wizard, I kind of leaned into being like intelligent, studious, potentially feels intellectually superior to most, might even try to like trick the party into helping them in some way. Like, oh, I need this resource. I can get those adventurers to do it. And they would never know, because she thinks she's so smart. Probably keeping tabs on the adventurers if they do like get to be too strong, those kinds of things. I think about that. And then I also think about where I'm going to put them in a campaign, or maybe even if it's like a one shot. Sure. Like, how strong is Vanny Swift Whistle? Is she just like a rookie necromancer who, is looking to become a lich, so she's not super powerful yet?
Yeah. That's
great for an early level campaign. Like 1 to 3, 1 to 4, that's like a perfect, like, an apprentice wizard with access to some necromancy spells.
Sure.
Maybe there's a town that's being afflicted with some kind of plague. Like, boom, easy first level campaign. Mid-level campaign. Let's say you go a little further. Maybe you want to hit like closer to 10, yeah?
Sure.
What if during this process, Vanny saves or brings back to life a lich, and the lich potentially becomes a new bad guy? Or maybe Vanny is just a low-tier servant to a cult of necromancers. Opens up a whole new can of worms for a mid-tier campaign of adventurers. Like, oh yeah, we finally got Vanny. It's like, oh no, but there's an entire cult of people who are doing this exact same thing. We got to stop them.
Sure, that classic thing.
Yeah, I like the classics.
I do too. That wasn't insulting, or at least
no. I just my reasoning behind it. And then a high-level campaign. Let's say you want to get to that 20.
Combos.
You want to get into something that's just a little more than like a town or maybe even that continent. Maybe you're talking about world-ending shit. What if the cult that you've been slowly working on, and Vonnie was just the beginning. She was the beginning of threads that led to more threads. And then you realize that this cult has been trying to summon some kind of death god or Orcus, who is a fiend of undead proportions, can basically unlimitedly cast and create undead servants. And maybe this group, maybe this adventuring group has finally figured out, like, they're trying to bring this ungodly monstrosity into the material plane. Now they got to stop them. And now they got to travel to, through the cosmos to deal with this summoning.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that is Vonnie the Necromancer and potential things you can do to basically go from a one-shot to a whole campaign.
I like it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Do you have any questions, concerns, thoughts?
No, I mean, I like I said, I think that it felt to me like a very logical progression from that little one shot that we both kind of came up with off the cuff a couple of weeks ago. And so I also like how you kind of built it in one of two ways, which is either how a seemingly low level threat can become a bigger level threat, or I mean, I always like to think of it too, like, perhaps the villain is progressing as much as you're progressing.
True. That is definitely a fun and interesting way to do it. Maybe you find her, and maybe you can't catch up to her, but she's just like a low level necromancer. She's just got access to a couple different spells. But then maybe she finds a magic item that she infuses with herself and gets stronger, and then slowly through the campaign, like, she eventually does succeed and becomes a lich.
Yeah, or honestly, it's kind of like the rival in Pokemon, right? Like, they're almost always at the gym before you.
Yeah.
Things like that. Anyway, yeah, I think that actually sounds really nice. Do you want to wrap her up then? Or...
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, well, guys, thank you so much for listening to Fandom Roulette. Like I said, we're talking over on this end of the world. We'll give some more information to you guys soon, but don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Like,
no, we're gonna have next episode is gonna be a little different from the usual.
But stay with us, stay in there. We love you guys, and we appreciate you listening to us.
Yeah.
And signing off as always, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.